Grace Point Daily Podcast. This is Jeremiah Johnson. I'm here with my best friend and now new author, Greg Walden, of a book called Betrayal Courage. Thanks for joining me, Greg Walden.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Normally we're doing the Modern Christian Dudes podcast, but now it finally is all about you.
Oh, wow.
You've always wanted this moment for it to be all about you on the podcast. Here we go. We're going to talk through this book called Betrayal Courage that officially came out last year.
Yeah, came out last year, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And I feel bad because I haven't really hyped it up, and so I felt convicted, but we're kind of moving into Father's Day, and I feel like this book is relative or could really encourage fathers.
Right.
And guys. This would be a good dude book.
Yeah,
or good guy book.
It'd actually be a good woman's book, too, because there's love in there, too. So.
There's love in there. And love's in the Bible, Song of Solomon, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But let's, before we really talk through the book a little bit, let's talk a bit about how you were inspired to even write a book, because that's a huge thing. I'm sure there's people that might be listening or watching right now, this is on the live stream as well, that might be saying to themselves, I've always wanted to write a book, so what inspired you to write a book, and then how did that process go for you?
Well, this is actually the second book I tried to write.
Okay.
First, I actually tried to write a book many years ago, right after I got saved around May of 1990. I just got my first computer. I was going to college, and I had this wild idea to write a book about this guy going through the tribulation period and all that, but it just kind of fizzled out and never came to fruition. So I just kind of never really bothered with it until last year. I had a dream last year, about February last year. It was an awesome dream. And I'm like, wow, this would kind of be an awesome story to write a story about this dream. So I based the book basically around the dream, but I had kind of ad-libs and stuff. But yeah, I thought and put some Christian principles in there. I was obviously my books, I really want to heavily focus on Christian principles. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still fiction, but it's still a lot of good Christian principles that you can take from the book.
Awesome. Did you watch YouTube videos, or did you have to reach out to a lot of people on how to write a book, or did you just go after it?
I just wrote it, man.
Open up the Microsoft document.
Word, just open up Word. And
start typing.
Just start typing.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating. I was listening to a podcast the other day of a guy who wrote a book about his life story, and he actually didn't, and this is just a couple years ago, he didn't know how to type. He's a little old school. So he just literally wrote it out on the old spiral notebooks, like a bunch of those.
That's hardcore.
And then got someone to type it out for him. But I love hearing the story of how someone has an idea, but then they're willing to just get after it and go for it. How long did it take you to write the book, Betrayal Courage?
I would say about 3 to 4 months.
Which is, this is how many pages is this?
374, somewhere in there.
Yeah, in 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
I'm a master's degree student, so that technically means I'm smarter than you. And I write 20, 30 page papers, and that's really hard for me.
Well,
is it easier to write fiction or just,
Well,
did you find it really fluid or?
I'm writing my second book, but that's probably a different topic. But this is my first book, so obviously I would write up some stuff, and then I would kind of have to stop and think. Yeah, because you do have to think when you write a book. You just can't just go out there, because the problem is you got to keep your plots, your characters. You don't want plot holes.
Keep it fluid.
You don't want stuff that doesn't make sense. You don't put stuff in there that doesn't really add to the story. So you got to make sure what you're putting in there is relevant, because you only got so many characters. Obviously the typical novels, really it's between 80,000 to 100,000 characters, and you really don't want to go over that. That kind of the average is 80. There's a lot of novels that even don't go over 80,000 characters. So you don't want you're trying to be careful not to drag the story out. Like, you don't want to become a diary.
Yeah.
That's especially
finding the sweet spot.
Yeah, you're trying to have a free spot, keeping the action moving, but obviously you have character development. You want things to happen to make sense. And I can't say, this is my first book, so I can't say it's always going to be perfect, but
yeah,
everybody's wrote the book and said, hey, I love it, but basically it's you got to be passionate. It's something you got to want to do.
Yeah.
If it's something that's really stirring in your heart, especially if it's a Christian book, and God's leading you to write a book, keep that passion in your heart and just start pounding out the pages.
Awesome. Betrayal Courage. All right, let's dive into it. On the back here, it says Bradley Johnson is a small-town Missouri boy who's found himself in the United States Army during the height of the Vietnam War with dreams of becoming a journalist.
Yep.
And then it goes and describe a little bit more from there. That's the overall description. But
right. And obviously this goes in because I've been in the military. I've spent 6 years in the military, so I do have some of my military experience in the book. So obviously he goes in, has these dreams, and things don't always happen as they seem. So things happen, and the story, like, again, I don't want to ruin the plot for anybody, but this guy, he goes in, he has to go through different hardships, different things happen to him. There's things happen around him, and there's other stuff goes on. But
so you said some of the elements that are, or storylines brought up would be love,
right? Yeah,
marriage.
Yeah, there's love. There's love in there. There's obviously redemption. There's faith. There's legacy. Like you have Christian grandparents. You know, a lot of us. You know, like myself included, where I was being a Christian because I had godly grandparents and godly great grandparents and godly mom in my life who prayed and showed the example to me of what a Christian. So that they were huge influences on me. That's probably the reason why I became a Christian. So I'm sure a lot of you guys may have similar experiences too. Mm-hmm. So you got legacy. Yeah.
What are you hoping? You know, one of the main things people will really take hold of or get from this book after they get done reading it. They read the book, they put it down, and they say to themselves,
"What?" I think the highlight would be faith,
okay,
and love, and also courage. Courage to keep your faith even in the hardest of such circumstances.
Yeah, and we need that today. We understand, you know, truth is being challenged, the Bible is being challenged, Christianity is being challenged, marriage is being challenged, and you know, as Christians, as people of faith, you know, we definitely need courageous people.
Right, because I mean, you know, your faith really shows not more when everything is going good for you. You know, you're really not showing your faith when everything is going your way. Mm-hmm. Your faith really stands out when everything's not going your way. When the circumstances of life are crushing you, that's true. That's where you know you have faith.
Yeah, and I'm sure this book would also be good for people in the military, guys in the military. I have no idea what that's like, but what was that like for you in your life being in the military? Was that, as you look back on that experience?
Well, military was definitely my growing up, becoming a man moment, because I went into military. I didn't know nothing about the world. I was naive. I obviously was not saved when I first went into the military. I found Jesus when probably about a year after I got to my first duty station. That's when I found and got saved. So obviously, I mean, you growing up with people in the military, obviously, if you've been in the military, you know, sinners in the military, especially those like younger enlisted, they do some wild and crazy things.
Yeah.
That you don't want to do. But you know, I found salvation, my first duty station, and so, you know, and then being able to be used in that realm to reach others for Christ. And that was my experience. I got saved about 5 months before I went to the first Gulf War. I was a baby Christian, and my experience is probably one of my testimonies. When we first going over to go to Saudi Arabia, I was scared, dude. I was scared because you're going to war. You don't know what's going to be like. You know, you get all that you're young, you're naive, you're a baby Christian. You're like, you don't. It's like, but when I went over there, God gave me a peace that I couldn't tell you. I mean, I went from being a chicken, and I go over there. I had no fear. Like, what over there? I wasn't even bothered by all the. I mean, I'm like over there. Everybody's losing their mind. I'm like, I felt like I was more on fire for Jesus over there than I was before I went over there. It's weird.
Wow. So we definitely need to be praying for our current military, those that are serving, whether it be domestically or overseas and various parts of the world. So, well, awesome. I really hope everyone will pick up a copy of Betrayal and Courage. You can pick it up on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles.
Yep.
And I think it'll be a good read for you guys, especially those of you that love fiction. It'd be classified as Christian fiction and put in that ballpark. And I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And it would make a great Father's Day gift for your father, grandfather, someone in the military.
Yeah.
Or someone who just loves to read in general. So thank you, Greg Walden. for writing Betrayal and Courage, and hope you all pick it up. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time, man.